Hello, and welcome to Wilaker, a Journeyers podcast. I'm Will Abels, and this is my story.
Left home, gone coast to coast in a hybrid car with a bag of clothes. Back on the wagon, back on the road. Would you have my back when I'm all alone? On a wing and a prayer, all out of favors. Hope to get $1 and a smile out of stranger. As the story is told and the plot unfolds, we laugh not to cry, but it's not a joke. No, it's not a joke. It's not a joke.
Hello, Millennials, and thank you for checking out Wilaker. I am on the road, and I would love for you to come check out a show starting this weekend in Boise, Idaho. March 26th, I'll be at the Cowboy Room for an off-festival show. Then March 27th and 28th, I'll be part of the Treefort Music Festival, so come check out a show there. Then next week, I'm heading down to the Southwest, starting with Flagstaff, Arizona on April 2nd. I'll be at Flagstaff Brewing Company headlining for the very first time. We got one show, and if it sells well, we'll have a second show for you. Then April 3rd and April 4th, I'll be at Laughs, Tucson, featuring for my buddy Ben Roy. Then April 5th, I'm going to Santa Fe, New Mexico for the very first time to headline at Cakes Cafe and Comedy Club. Then I'm heading to Dallas to feature for my friend Cliff Cash on April 9th at Dallas Comedy Club. Then April 10th and April 11th, I might have a few surprises for you, so check back in and I'll let you know what I'm doing then. But April 12th, I'll be headlining at Dallas Comedy Club for the very first time. Then I head back to Nashville to be part of the Nashville Comedy Festival. I'll be on panel once again for Ask a Fuckboy April 17th in the Lab, so come check that out. Then April 18th, I'm heading up to Louisville to feature at Planet Other Tapes. Then I come back to Nashville for Rosemary and Beauty Queen's comedy show, the best show in Nashville. Then I go to Chicago to feature for my friend Adam Mamawala at Zany's on April 21st. Then I head up to Minneapolis to headline for the very first time at the Comedy Corner Underground in Minneapolis, April 23rd. And then I'm staying for the weekend, April 24th and April 25th, to feature for Adam Caton Holland at the Comedy Corner Underground once again. Lots of shows coming up, even more past that. Go to my Linktree, find the tickets, buy the tickets, tell a friend, help me out. God, I am winded. The thin air of Denver is doing me in. Welcome back to Wilaker, Chapter 9. I am still in Denver. I am back at the lake I recorded at last week. It's actually a lot less windy, so I'm going to walk around, try and enjoy it, try and soak it up, soak it in. Because tomorrow I get back on the road and I'm heading to Boise, where I will be part of Treefort Music Festival. I'm doing an off-festival show on Thursday night at Cowboy Room, and then I'm doing 2 shows as part of the festival on Friday and Saturday. My cousin Connor is also going to be there with his band, Cab Ellis. I'm pretty excited. It's going to be a cool weekend, but today has been a lot of just preparation. I got a show again tonight at Comedy Works here in Denver, and yeah, it's really just been a great week. And so I thought, you know what, let's wrap this thing up with a nice little stroll around Stanley Lake. Stanley Lake. There's a D in there. I don't think it needs to be there, but it is. And that's just how that is. So let me just get into it. Picking up where we left off, I have just left Seattle. I've had a fantastic couple of days. I got a hotel. I was given a hotel for the Carco Theater show. I went out afterwards, hung out with Victoria and Cosmo, and got to catch up with them. And it was really a nice full circle moment of someone I hadn't gotten to see in a while, and just seeing how wonderful their life is coming together, and then getting to, you know, do some comedy for them and be a part of that. So it was really a nice way to wrap it up. So I wake up in Seattle, you know, get situated, shower. I'm about to go to Westport, Washington, which is a beach town, or more so a surf town and a dock, as opposed to like a beach town, as I kind of thought. I think I'm using the word beach town. I'm using it a little loosely there. So I shower and everything, and I go into the little town that I'm near and get some breakfast. And, you know, it's funny because of my 5 months prior of sobriety, you notice drinking habits differently than you used to. Like, during this journey, I am drinking again, right? But you just notice these habits that you go, oh, this is the abnormality of alcoholism. And it's interesting, each person's on their own journey with it. And it kind of, this sounds stupid, but it almost ruins drinking for you because you notice these habits because you have them yourself, right? So I go to this restaurant just to grab some food. It's, around 11, 12 o'clock. Like, I'm not really, in a rush to get to Westport. I am supposed to perform that night, and this is one of the headliner shows that I'm not expecting to make much. I'm working for tips, and I got a free place to stay. But I'm thinking, okay, it's a nice Sunday. It's the summer. I'll probably make like $200 in tips, maybe a little bit more. That's all I'm really going for. But those $200 are supposed to go a long way over the next couple of days. And, just so far the headliner shows aren't playing out great. But that was the whole deal, was I got a free spot to stay for the night. It's a campsite, but it's like a glamping kind of campsite. Like, there's a hot tub there, there's a cold plunge there. And that's really what I'm just kind of trying to get to, right? So anyway, I go to this restaurant just outside of the hotel in Seattle, and I sit down, I order a beer, I get some food, because, like I said, I'm just sort of back in the habit. Luckily, I'm not drinking at 8 a.m., but I am still it's kind of like my anxiety is just sort of unmanageable until I have a beer, and that's, a sign, right? But I wasn't in a position where I wanted to quit again, and I didn't really know how I was going to get through the rest of the trip unless I at least drank a little bit. And the good thing is, I do kind of curb it back moving forward from here, but there's just a lot happening with my mind. Actually, that's not true. That day I curbed it back. Portland, we'll get to that. But anyway, I sit down, I order some food, and I'm drinking a beer, and then the bartender comes up. Again, it's like 11, 12 in the morning, 12 o'clock, and he's like, hey, you want to do a shot? And I was like, yeah. I'd love to do a shot. I love a free shot, right? So I do a shot with him. I had a pretty strict rule about not drinking whiskey. It was one of these, again, for those of you that are sober and listening, there are some habits that you can go, oh yeah, I know what he's doing there. And for those of you that are curious about it, there's just these, you make these weird rules for yourself because alcohol is a tricky mistress. And, when I started drinking again, I was like, well, I have rules now. I don't drink whiskey. So if I am doing a shot, it's only tequila. And in your mind, you're like, well, that makes me healthy, right? You'll see these weird, fake rules that you apply to yourself just so you can continue drinking. Bert Kreischer does them. I hope he just completely quits, because I heard it's really getting to a point where we might not have him around much longer. And whether you like his comedy or not, is still a human being that contributes a lot and is a genuinely nice, kind person that just has a really bad disease that he, kind of dabbles with addressing and kind of walks away from at the same time. Anyway, so the bartender comes up and he's like, hey, you want to do a shot? I'm like, yeah, I'll do a shot. So I do a shot with him, and then I kind of see him just sneaking shots, and I'm only there for 40 minutes, but he probably had 3 or 4 more shots, and he's not taking them with other customers, he's not taking them with me, he's just kind of doing himself. And these are the kind of habits that you sort of see in yourself where you're like, I don't even want to take shots, and I've just had 4, and you just sort of, it's just, you go on autopilot. And again, it's something I noticed because I see it in myself. Luckily in this situation, because my budget is pretty much non-existent, I'm like, well, unless he gives me free ones, I'm not drinking any more shots. Plus, I have to drive about an hour away. It's not far, but I still, have to drive either way. So, eat, finish my beer, go for a bit of a walk, and then I make my way to Westport. And it's beautiful. It's just genuinely, it's such a nice, even though it's kind of just a dock town for bigger ships and stuff, there was some surfing that I was able to go find at some point and go watch, which I really enjoyed. And yeah, so I get to the campsite and I check in, and I'm about an hour from showtime, right? And it was an early show on purpose, but I get there and I check in and I'm like, yeah, I'm here for the show. and to check in, and they were like, "Oh, what show?" And I was like, "That's a great start. That always feels good." And then I kind of explained it. I showed them the email, and they're like, "Oh, that's okay." And of course, you know, the person that was enthusiastic about it didn't do much else past that. So the town doesn't know, and the town is tiny. Like, I mean, this is one of those things that, like, if I could just have gotten the word out, people would have come to this place just to watch, right? So it would have been an easy sell, and no one knew about it. So, I mean, even the place I'm doing it at didn't know about it. So they're just kind of like, all right, well, do you have your own equipment? And I was like, nope, that's also a conversation that we had. And I'm usually pretty friendly about these things, but I'm just like, come the fuck on. Like, and this is the thing with, like, bookers. Not all bookers, I have to say that. But there are some that just, and I'm not just talking like, you know, independent bookers. Some clubs, they just expect you to do everything. And it's like, what are you fucking doing that's so goddamn hard that you can't just repost what I've already, like, I've had to build the flyer, or I've had to pay someone to make the flyer. I've had to print it. I've had to do everything. Anyway, I'm a little on edge in this situation, right? So I don't know. I'm like, no, I don't have equipment. Do you guys have equipment? That's what I was told, that you guys had equipment. They're like, oh yeah, we do. Don't worry about it. So finally, the person that I was talking to originally in the emails, they're kind of giving me the whole, like, oh yeah, like it's everyone else's fault but mine. And I'm just like, no, it's 100% your fault. Like, you fucked this up. So there's no one else in this campsite. So I go to the stage, I set everything up, and where I went from, like, very mad, I kind of just am like, whatever. I mean, this is sort of why I have a hard time trusting other people to manage anything in my career besides myself. And I set up the equipment, and I'm like, I will talk to the few people I see. I will sit here, and if someone wants me to perform, I'll perform. But if not, whatever, I can't control it, and I'll just go into town, get dinner, and I'll go to bed early, and I'll just go to Portland. And so I sit there for about an hour, got the equipment set up, got some music playing, and, you know, some people walk up, they're like, oh, what's going on here? And I'm like, oh, I'm supposed to do comedy. And they're like, oh yeah, we might come back for that. And I was like, well, if you do, you're probably the only ones. So I talked to these people for like 25, 30 minutes, and they're just like, hey, well, sorry, good luck, but we're going to go into town. So they go into town. I sit there for probably another half hour, maybe hour total. I think I got a beer from the lobby or something. I'm just sitting there like, whatever, like, I can't do anything, so I'm just going to enjoy this. So after an hour after showtime, I'm like, yep, I'm calling this one. I'm gonna call it. And besides that, I actually did have a great experience with this particular hotel. I'm not gonna plug them because I'm not happy about it, you know. But if you are interested, they have locations. It's like a glamping, like, lodging kind of situation. They have them all over the country. If you're interested, you can DM me and I will tell you who it is. I would recommend using them. I would not recommend going through them to set up a comedy show. So that's why I'm kind of in the in-between where I don't need to badmouth them as a company. I just had a bad experience strictly as they were trying to do an event and they fucked up the event. That's all it was. Also, based on how small this town is, they probably don't have a lot of events. So I'm not even mad at the person now. Yes, I was just yelling a second ago, but maybe I was yelling about, I don't know, fucking Salt Lake City's club. Who knows? So now I have the night off. I did not make any money, but I didn't lose any money, and I have a pretty cool place to stay. So the first thing I do is I go into the cold plunge, try and balance myself out. That does its job. I get balanced out there, feeling pretty good, feeling energetic. So then I, bring my heart rate back down, then I get in the hot tub for a little bit. I'm feeling pretty good. I go and I shower. The accommodations there are fantastic. And then I go into town, and I find, I don't know, there's a couple bars in town. I did forget this. I actually went into town first before I went and checked in at Loge. And that's when I went and I watched some surfing. I got some ceviche, like some pretty cheap ceviche, but because it's like a fisherman town, it was very fresh, and it was absolutely delicious. And then I went and I checked in. All the other stuff happened. And now I'm back in town. And I found this, it was a fairly big bar, but it was completely empty. And I go to the back because there's no one else there except for these two ladies. These two ladies are probably in their 60s, tatted up, bleach blonde hair, and that leathery skin that you only see if you've been working the docks. I mean, these ladies have seen a thing or two. They're local. And I sit down. We start chatting because, it's one of those situations where, like, we're not going to chat, And these two ladies, I mean, hoarse voices. God, they were great. They were just, I was sitting down. I was like, I'm going to have such a wonderful time talking to the two of these two ladies. And, and they're just like, what are you doing in town? And I tell them about the comedy thing, how it all fallen apart. And they're like, oh my God, comedy, Matt Rife? And I was like, why? You could have said Bill Burr. You could have said, God, you could have said Bill Cosby. And they're like, Matt Rife? And I'm like, yeah, well, I'm aware of the comedian known as Matt Rife. And they're like, yeah, he's all right. Yeah, we watch him sometimes, And then she's like, well, the other one's like, this is great. I mean, I love this. So there's this thing you can do where you can buy a dollar. Like, I don't know how to explain this. Like, you give the bar $1 and they put it on the ceiling, but you buy the $1. Like, I don't know, it doesn't make any sense to me. But one of the ladies was like, all right, well, I want you to sign this. This one's for me in case you become famous. And this other one, that one goes up on the bar. And so she puts it up there or whatever. So we're all hanging out. I'm kind of in a good mood now. And I'm enjoying my conversation with them. The bartender, she's like this nice young mom, probably younger than me, like probably in her 20s. And she is really struggling to be a bartender. And she keeps just saying, I'm normally like the morning shift. Like I'm normally the morning shift. And we're like, there's 3 of us. Like it's, I don't know what you want us to say here. Like it's not that complicated. And what she's really struggling with is this place is known for their Bloody Marys. They make these like really extravagant Bloody Marys that are basically meals. They have like shrimp on them, clams, oysters, like all that kind of stuff, right? So we're sitting there. I get my normal shot and a beer, just like a Coors Light or something, and a tequila. And it takes her a minute to get that, but she accomplished it. And then one of the ladies, she just got whatever her drink was. And the other one's like, well, I got to try one of these Bloody Marys. And she gets like the super complicated Bloody Mary. And I shit you not, it takes this poor bartender 45 minutes to make the goddamn thing. And we are, we're enjoying our conversation, but we are kind of like constantly looking up being like, is she still working on this fucking Bloody Mary? And it's just taking forever and ever and ever. And that was the kind of funny part is she kept saying, well, I'm normally the morning shift. And we were like, and you don't know how to make the Bloody Marys? Like, what is happening here? And look, she was a young mom, like, the baby was very young. She's frazzled, she's probably working again way sooner than we should let our mothers work after having a kid. And she's just frazzled, And we're all being nice. No one's being a dickhead, but you are just watching like, Jesus, goddamn Christ, make this Bloody Mary. So she finished the Bloody Mary, and she hands it down to this lady. And the lady's like, but like the second before she takes a sip, the bartender goes, oh my God, stop. She's like, I didn't put in any tomato juice. So all the liquid we saw was just straight vodka and hot sauce. And like I said, these ladies, they were wild. And one of them looks at me and she goes, well, I mean, I gotta try it. And so she tries it, and she just like, I mean, you could see the instant regret in her face. Me and the other lady are dying laughing because it was just, I mean, perfect physical comedy, And she's just like, oh my God, Jesus Christ, give me some of your drink. She's like, no, you can't have my drink. Like, give me a drink. Oh my God, someone give me some water or something. Just dying, and we are in hysterics. The manager hears us. He comes back because he's like, what's going on back here? And she's like, oh, this lady almost killed me. and the bartender's like, I'm sorry, I'm just stressed out and blah, blah. And the manager's like, don't worry, I got it. I'll make it real quick. So he remakes it, and she does the whole thing. We get our Bloody Marys and all that good stuff. And the manager sits down. We start having a conversation. Very quickly learn that we voted very differently the last election, but we still have a pretty interesting conversation about that. We talk about comedy, and of course he wanted to talk about free speech and cancel culture and that kind of stuff. But he wasn't too like obnoxious about it. Like some people are just like, well, you can't say anything, and he was like, well, what do you like think about that? It wasn't more like he wasn't just like saying like you can't say anything. He was like, what do you think about it as a working comic? And, a lot of my philosophy behind the you can't say anything, I do think you can say anything you want, but you just, sometimes you're going to get punched in the fucking face. And I think some of these guys, especially in Austin, need to just get punched in the fucking face. And then maybe they'll start being funnier. Because I don't know, I've noticed that if you do talk about politics or social issues, and the audience is not the type of audience that agrees with you, if you can make it funny, they can understand it. They can swallow it better, you know? But if you're just up there trying to offend people, then yeah, you're going to lose your right to free speech a little bit, I guess. But anyway, so that night ends up being very fun, and it's not super long. I'm only there for about an hour and a half, and then I walk back to the camp, and I didn't sit at my tent. I had everything set up in my car, and I just go to sleep. So I wake up the next day. Again, it's just like this cool surf town, and I have to be in Portland that night. Portland's only about 2 hours away. It's not that big of a deal. And I go into town. I go and I watch surfing for a little while, and then I find like a new bar to get, a restaurant. I call them all bars. I go to a new restaurant to get brunch. And I sit down. It's got a stage, and I was like, you got to be shitting me. So the bartender is honestly the only person I've seen besides, like, you know, the lady last night was maybe younger than me, the mom, I mean. But this bartender is probably about my age, and I haven't really seen anyone else, like, young. Like, I really haven't. I mean, it doesn't seem like that kind of a town. So it's me and the bartender, and we start chatting it up. She's very nice. She's an art student. I don't think she was from back east. I think she was from the West Coast, but she's an art student, or she was an art student. So we're able to talk about that kind of stuff. I talk about my college experience at Emerson, and yeah, it was just really like a really nice conversation. This other guy sits down next to me to the right. He's also a local artist in town, and so we're just really having a good conversation about art in general, you know, and like we all have our own types that we do. And it was really an engaging conversation, and it's always nice to talk to, because, you know, I know some people think comedy is an art, and in spoken word, yes, there's a gift to it for sure, but there are times when I'm up here talking and I'm like, this is not art. So when I get to talk to other people, it does interest me. So another guy gets there, and he sits down at the other end of the bar. He's just kind of listening, and I for the life of me, I don't know what he said, but something in my brain went, wait, Westport, Washington, is this where they filmed, is this where they dock for The Deadliest Catch? And so I just look at this guy, I'm like, hey, this is a weird question. Is this the place where they dock for The Deadliest Catch? And he was like, sometimes, yeah, I'm the welder from one of the ships of The Deadliest Catch. I was like, what are the odds? You know, and so I had a background in reality TV from my early days in TV production when I first moved to New York. And so we started talking about reality TV, and he's telling me all these inside things where he's like, oh my God, the cameramen, all of them almost die all the time because they're just always in the way, and they don't understand like how many moving parts there are on these ships. And, you know, he's just giving all these inside details. And it was also like, I'm in Westport, Washington, and I'm sitting with the most famous man I've met this entire trip, you know, and it was awesome. So wrap up our like great conversation, and part of me's like, I just want to stay here. I don't want to do comedy anymore. I just want to, like, you know, just hang out with all these people. And another reason the show getting canceled was a bit of a bummer was my friend Corey David, who I'm about to see in Portland. He was also in Portland, he was in Portland at that time running his show, Interrogation, and Kyle Kinane was on it. And Kyle Kinane is like on my Mount Rushmore of comics that I want to work with. And I had an option to go be on Interrogation as well that Sunday night, but I opted to go to Westport to try and make some more money. And so that was why it was a bit of a bummer for it to fall apart outside of the monetary issues. But you know what? Another time, right? And so I ended up having this great conversation at night. Hilarious ladies. Had a great time during the day. And then I'm making my way to Portland. I have to get an oil change, so I stop for an oil change. The only oil change, I think, that was between the coast and Portland. And then I get into town, and I will pick up the next chapter in Portland. But before I do, there's something I want to acknowledge because I think it's very funny. Back home in Nashville, my mom is watching my cat, Davy, at my apartment. Right before I left, the neighbor's cat, Tinkerbell, also named Mickey, is pregnant with her first litter. And I knew that she was going to pop. And she had the babies right before I left. And I just didn't see him. Like, I didn't see him. And I was like, letting my cat sitter know, and I was letting my mom know, and I just like, I haven't seen the cats. I'm telling friends, whatever. So my mom goes, and I think she's there like 24 hours before I get a picture of her holding one of the kittens. Just sniffs them out immediately. And now Bev is, I mean, if you know my mom, she is the queen of cats. I mean, there have been times where she's been on vacation and a kitten has showed up out of a bush in like the Bahamas and just like gotten on her lap. I mean, it's incredible. And just some people have this spirit that cats are drawn to them. And my mother is one of them, if not the leading cat spirit existing in society today. And so she sent me this adorable picture of this kitten, and I was like, do not steal these kittens. Now, my neighbors are from Honduras. The parents don't speak English, and we get all of our information from their 10-year-old son. And this kid is just talking shit on me to my mother. And his kid's like, he looks at Davy one day, and he's like, yeah, your son stole Davy from us. I forget what he called him. He called Davy something else. But he's like, yeah, he stole that cat from us. Now, with some reflection on how I found Davy, this might be true. But this kid's going to talk shit on me to my mom, and I've also had Davy for like 2 years. You could have told me. Yeah, I'm talking about a 10-year-old having to come over and be like, hey, I think you stole our cat. But yeah, he could have said something. He's been around for two years. And also, take care of your damn cats. Now you got Tinkerbell running around. She's having babies all over the place. So my mom has a picture of this like little kitten. Now she's at war with a 10-year-old Honduran boy next door about these kittens because they keep leaving the kittens outside in the sun. It's a whole cat fiasco happening. And my mom is just like feeding Tinkerbell like wet food. So when I get back in a couple weeks, the cats are so privileged and just beyond my dry food that I give them, and they will only eat wet food now, which I can't afford. But I thought it was a really nice I don't know, I just think it's really funny that I'm like here like, running around the country and just meeting all these strangers, and my mom is at war with a 10-year-old Honduran boy over some kittens back in Nashville, Tennessee. The kittens eventually get stolen by 2 teenage girls. If you know Laughlin Springs in Nashville, and if you're listening from Laughlin Springs, can you guys chill out with the cats? You keep stealing kittens, and I understand we got to get them into the right homes, but like, chill out. It's insane. I'm tired of waking up and just all these kittens are gone because you guys are walking by and you're like, oh, there's a kitten outside. And instead of knocking on this door and seeing if it's somebody's cat, I should just steal it and then post to the East Nashville Inglewood Lost and Found Facebook page. I also do appreciate how much material you guys are giving me. But chill. Chill with the cat thievery. So anyway, that has been Chapter 9. I feel like I spoke a little quickly through this, but I always feel like that. And I'll be honest, I've been here for a week, and I still have not adjusted to the thin mountain air. So if I get a little winded in there a couple of times, I'm sorry. I tried my best to stop walking and to catch my breath and continue my conversation. But one thing I did learn from that, this is one of the more complicated parts about the drinking aspect of this whole trip is there are so many moments that if you listen to every episode, every chapter, that it seems so obvious to go, Will, just quit drinking, or Will, stop drinking, right? And I can reflect on that now and go, man, that trip would have been so different if I wasn't drinking, blah, blah, blah. But there was a necessary evil in all of this, and that I wouldn't be where I am now if I didn't have this experience with drinking, with the trip, with all of that. And I had to go through that. It's one of those tough moments in life that you just have to go through. And honestly, in the moment, yes, my anxiety is abhorrent in the mornings, but I met so many people through the bars and through the restaurants and doing some of the shows and all these things. So the kind of, hamster in the wheel that just kind of kept it going was that I kept having these great experiences, and they were all tied around drinking. My anxiety disappeared. I met all these cool people, and that's what kind of kept perpetuating the cycle of my drinking on this trip. And the next chapter is where the wheel falls off the axle, essentially. And I'll get to that a bit more. But I do want to explain that was sort of the complicated situation in my mind was like, I knew I needed to quit drinking, but that was like the only good thing consistently happening to me was drinking again. And, you know, I know that that's not true. I know that quitting would have solved a lot more of my problems, but in that moment, it didn't feel that way. It felt like drinking was actually a solution. And that is where those things get a bit slippery and you go down the slope. So, but that was Westport. I genuinely had a great 24 hours there, even though the show didn't actually happen. And, you know, the roughly $200 I was banking on are no longer in my pocket. But one thing that also happened at that bar the second day is the owner eventually got there, and she hears the story about what happened at the venue that I was at, and she was like, oh my God, you don't want to do stand-up there. People rent that place out for orgies and stuff. And I was like, okay, well, that would have actually been great, all things considered. And she was like, well, look, I got this stage. I'm going to follow you on Facebook. The next time you're in town, you let me know, and we'll set up a show here. And so I will not say that the door is closed on ever performing in Westport, Washington in the future. All right, this has been Wilaker. Kenny, do what you do best. Take us away.
Left home, gone coast to coast in a hybrid car with a bag of clothes. Back on the wagon, back on the road. Would you have my back when I'm all alone? On a wing and a prayer, all out of favors. Hope to get $1 and a smile out of stranger. As the story is told and the plot unfolds, we laugh not to cry, but it's not a joke. No, it's not a joke. It's not a joke.